You're tuned into Cup Check Radio on WODU, the best in college radio. The best. It is. Tuesday. Football happened. All of it. A lot happened too. Controversy, injuries, all that good stuff. College football, baseball's coming up, playoff baseball. So lot to talk about. So we'll jump right into football. That's usually where we start off at. It's a good little starting point for us. So let's start with the firing that happened. Only 4 games in this season, which is usually a little early to fire a coach, but I don't blame the Dolphins on this one. Dolphins fired Coach Joe Philbin. I mean it was an easy firing. That's the easiest way to put it. He had no control of the team. He just couldn't get anybody to do what he wanted to. He couldn't get a win. I mean, he just 4 games in, he gets fired. He's the 5th coach to get fired in 4 games or fewer since 89. I mean, you look at his record so far through everything, and it's not good. 24-28 under him since 2012. He's under 500, 46.2%. So he's under 500. Their last playoff appearance was in 2008. He wasn't even there. I mean, they haven't finished with a season above 500 since 2008. So Philbin obviously wasn't doing something right. I mean, the offense looked terrible. I mean, just dreadful. Now, do you blame the offense on that? Do you blame the offensive coordinator? Do you blame Philbin? I mean, Philbin looks like he was the main problem. He just wasn't able to kick the team into gear and get them to where they needed to go. And I mean, you look at some of the talent they have. It's Lamar Miller was literally non-existent. I mean, he was not used at all. I mean, you have a back who was one of the best last year. He was top 10 last year, having 131 yards through 4 games on 37 attempts. He's not even getting 10 attempts a game. And then you have a guy who front office way overpaid for a mediocre quarterback. Oh, Ryan Tannehill. He's going to lead us to the promised land. Tannehill's average at best. At best. Tannehill is terrible. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. I mean, he's been there as long as Philbin, 2012, so he's got the same record with the team. I mean, he was an 8th round pick, and he just hasn't lived up to what they thought he could be, what he was when he was at Texas A&M. I mean, he just has not been that guy. He's got 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 4 fumbles. He's got a QBR of 32.1. 32.1 is his total QBR. I mean, they beat the Redskins, who that's just a different story. They're up and down. You can't tell what the Redskins are going to do. Then lost to Jacksonville, lost to Buffalo, lost to the Jets. I mean, those aren't terrible teams to lose to. I mean, back a year or 2 ago, yeah. But I mean, Jacksonville keeps seeming like they're going to put it together and then fall apart in the end. Buffalo's pretty good, although they did lose to the backup Hasselbeck and the Colts. And then the Jets are pretty good. But the team just has not developed the way they want to. And they went out and got Ndamukong Suh expecting to bring some pass rush and all that. And that just hasn't happened for them. But I mean, the coach goes, you get rid of the coach. Okay. I can get behind that. I think Dolphins fans can get behind that. But then you got Tannehill. At some point, you start looking at him. I mean, he's on pace right now to just exceed his interception ratio. Is the most career interceptions he's thrown in a season is 17. In 16 games, he's thrown 17. Through 4 games, he has 5. He's on pace. He's on pace to beat that. And that's not good. He's only got 7 touchdowns so far. I mean, he's just not a great quarterback. He's never had a QBR above 50 or above 60. He had a 58 year. I mean, at what point does Tannehill become the guy? I know they just paid him an arm and a leg, but he's not a good quarterback. I mean, you can draft somebody, try to build behind Tannehill, and then bring him out, but he's just not where he should be. And I mean, some of that could be Philbin. Some of that could have been the way Philbin was teaching him and trying to work with him and everything. And we'll find out later on. But I mean, by the end of the year, if they can't get the wins to pile up like the way they should, you got to look at Tannehill and go, okay, is this our guy? Is this the guy we want at the helm to lead our team to a Super Bowl? And I think if this continues, which I understand this is a terror. If anybody continue at this pace, they'd be looked at as being fired. But if his career trends continue, he's not your guy. He's not the guy you want anymore. And I mean, he reminds me a lot of Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford at some point needs to go. I mean, he almost led his team to a victory last night. We'll get over all that and everything like that. But Stafford. Is there a tape in here? Stafford just is not at the level that he should be with the talent around him. I mean, he's got 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions right now. And I like to look at interception touchdown ratio. I think that's a good way of determining good decision making and all of that throughout. He's got a QBR 50.3. But I mean, again, his career stats aren't great. He's a guy that throws way too many interceptions. I mean, last year he didn't do bad at 12, but again, he's on pace to destroy that. He's got 5 interceptions already. I mean, he's gonna have 10 by week 8. He's looking at 20 interceptions. 2011 he threw 2011 he only threw 16 with 41 touchdowns. That was a great year for him, one of the best years he had. But 2009 he threw 20 interceptions. 2013 he threw right under 19 interceptions. I mean, Stafford's got talent around him, just like Tannehill. But both of them can't put it together. I mean, you have Calvin Johnson as the Lions, with Abdullah in the backfield, who was amazing in college. Yeah, has a case of the fumbles, but can still run the ball. And you look at the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins have Jordan Cameron. He was one of the best tight ends there were. Greg Jennings, he's been in the league for forever now. Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills. I mean, Lamar Miller, Pouncey at the front. I mean, they have talent on the offensive side of the ball, at least. And then Ndamukong Suh on the defense. I mean, their defense isn't terrible. Just at what point is it the quarterback's fault and not the coach? And I think the Lions are going to end up at that point pretty soon. I think they're going to look at their team and go, wait a minute. And see that Stafford's not living up to where they want to be. Stafford's not going to take them to a championship. He's just not. And I mean, the thing is, Calvin Johnson's probably going to go down as one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver to ever play football. Yet he had a mediocre quarterback. Sometimes he was good to great. Most of the time he was average. Tannehill's the same way. So the firing of Philbin is just one step in the Dolphins looking at their organization and determining which way they want to go. But they need to run the ball more. Miller's there. That's what they need to do. 131 yards on 30 carries in 4 games. That's just unacceptable for any team. Even if you don't have a strong running game, 37 carries, for your leading back, it was actually very good. That's just not acceptable for a team. Talking about getting rid of people, the Steelers got rid of their kicker, Scobie, after he missed two, not one, two game-winning field goals. Two game-winning field goals he missed from 48 and 50 to beat the Ravens, the division foe, not even a division, just a mutual hatred between one another, and they lose on a field goal. Vic's first game back, short week, they had the opportunity to win, and they miss a field goal. The Ravens could have been 0-4 and the Steelers at 3-1. Cincinnati's at 4-0. I mean, that changed the landscape so much for Pittsburgh, all because Scobie could not hit one of the two field goals. And he had the leg. They were reasonable field goals, but he just missed them. So they get rid of him, obviously. I mean, I don't see how you don't get rid of him after just a terrible performance. Just terrible performance. I mean, Josh Tucker could make him. 52-yarder to win it. And then people are questioning Tomlin on going forward on fourth down twice in the overtime. No, I mean, you can't blame him due to the fact that his kicker, his morale was so low because he missed two game-winning field goals, and you're going to put him out there again to try to win it, and if he misses it, they get the ball on their own 50. They're in their field goal range. A couple plays. I mean, this is nobody but Scobie's fault, and that's why he's gone. Yeah, Tomlin should have not, on fourth down the first time, ran a draw to Vic. I mean, you have the best running back in the league. No argument there by anybody. The best running back in the league in Le'Veon Bell. You probably should have given it to Bell. But regardless of all that, running with Vic was fine. They don't get it, okay. They shouldn't be in overtime, but they don't get it, okay. The defense steps up. The defense makes great plays, ends up with the ball back, gives another shot, goes for it on fourth down. This one a little closer, but again, Scobie's so just demoralized from the fact that he lost them this game. They go for it again, and Vic just throws it high to Antonio Brown. I mean, that's something that'll be learned. And Antonio Brown dropped a touchdown earlier, but I mean, it probably would have been caught from Ben, but a left-handed spiral spins differently, all that. Antonio Brown drops it. It's something you learn with. Vic will learn in time. He had time to throw the ball, set his feet, but it's just something that will come to them in time. A couple mistakes were made by Vic and by the other side, but it lands squarely on Scobie's shoulders. Nobody else. There wouldn't have been an overtime. There wouldn't have been they should have kicked the extra point or the field goal. Nobody should have any blame besides Josh Scobie, who's now jobless and will probably remain jobless due to the fact that he can't do the one job he had to do. And this guy leads Jacksonville in total points. He's their top leading scorer. And he missed two huge field goals. Huge field goals. And now they have Chris Boswell, who they hope can turn it around, because at this point, the kicking for Pittsburgh is a joke. I mean, first kicker gets hurt, tears his ACL. Okay, we'll go get Scobie. He's been solid for them. Just a joke of a kicker. Watching the game, you sit there, you go, he's going to miss this. And he does. And you go, he's going to miss this one too. And he does. Scobie played terrible. And the reason he's out of a job is 100% his fault. He's got to make one. That's all he had to do. And he couldn't. It's not Vic's fault. Vic played okay. 19 for 26, 124 yards and a touchdown. Probably should have ran the ball a little more with Bell. I think a triple option would have been interesting with Vic, Bell, and Williams. I mean, you put Williams at fullback. That'd be an interesting combo, I think. Or fake a handoff, play action a little more. Antonio Brown only got 5 receptions for 42 yards, 40-ish yards. It's not Vic's fault. Vic will get better. The Steelers will get better. The defense is playing very well this year. He's got a long week to get ready. He plays Monday night, so from last Thursday to this Monday. He's got time to learn the playbook a little more, and he's going to get better. But they got a kicker, so they just got better. Scobie put himself out of a job. Sorry, see ya. Can't do your job, you're gone. Also, it's not just Scobie that's having a problem. Scobie has a huge problem. But the Saints almost lost it too on a missed kick. Luckily, Drew Brees and Fred Jackson or CJ Spiller. Luckily, they stepped up and won it on a touchdown. But the further extra points messing up people, but people seem to be missing field goals more and more this year. I don't know if it's a mind game or what, and that wasn't a dome. He just hit it right off the upright. I mean, just square on the upright. But moving on to Monday night. Monday night football was quite a game, to say the least. I mean, you look at the final score, it was closer than you expected. If you just look at the box score, you go, wow, it was a close game. And that's all you saw. You didn't see the game, anything like that. You got a close game. Lions had a chance. What you didn't realize is the controversy that surrounds this entire game. Seattle gets the win, due in part to Calvin Johnson getting the ball hit away from him before crossing the plane of the end zone for a touchdown, and it rolling towards the back of the end zone, and it's batted away. Actually, out of the back of the end zone. It's batted out of the back of the end zone. So what happened was that they called a touchback. Fumble out of the back of the end zone, touchback. Other team gets the ball. Seattle's ball on the 20. The thing is, you're not allowed to tap the ball when it's in the end zone. And it was obvious KJ Wright did it. I mean, he tapped it out of the back of the end zone. But the call was blown. And I mean, not the casual sports fan, almost nobody knew this rule. But if you're a ref, you should know this rule. That's your job, to know the rules, to do what you are supposed to do. So it's tapped out of the back of the end zone, and they call it touchback, and that puts the game away. Seattle wins. I mean, Seattle just needs to get a first down, which they do. They need the ball, they win. But what should have happened, what the proper call was that it was an illegal bat by KJ, right? And it remains the Lions ball on Seattle's 1. So they're on Seattle's 1 with a minute 30-ish left and 4 downs because they get a first down out of it. Down by 3, worst case scenario, they tie it. Most likely they score a touchdown. I mean, their winning percentage went from 80% to win it, to after the call was blown, 10.5. So they went from the favorites to you don't got a shot. You don't have a shot. And the thing is, the NFL has now came out and said it was wrong. We'll look into it. But that does nothing for the Lions now, who are winless still. The Lions are 0-4 still, and saying we'll look into it and saying, okay, we were wrong. They don't care about an apology. I mean, they don't care. The NFL got it wrong. So what? That they got it wrong. Okay, what does that do for me? What does that do for the Lions? You just admitted you got it wrong. The fact is, the Lions now have to deal with the fact they're 0-4, and Seattle moves to 2-2, and is tight in that division now due to the fact that the Rams beat the Cardinals. They're like a game back, game and a half back, 2 games. I mean, the tides turn for this in Seattle's favor. I mean, they literally gave Seattle a win, and now Seattle has the ability to win their division still. I mean, Seattle going to 1-3 would have been devastating. Just crushing blow. But they're not. They're 2-2 due to the fact that the refs blew the call on a Monday night when Seattle was in town yet again. Remember the Fail Mary? Yeah. This is right up there. Except these aren't replacement refs. I mean, and you can't review it. It's a rule. It's not something you can review. They just didn't know the rule. Which, I mean, not everybody knows every rule, but as the ref, as the guy who makes these calls, either meet up with everybody and decide what it is, because they didn't do that. The guy just called it and left. I mean, or meet up or know the whole rule book. Somebody knew this rule. I mean, they literally after the game, that's all they talked about. They talked about how this call was botched and given Seattle a win when Detroit came into town, took care of business. Have it to be ripped away from them by the guys in stripes, not by the guys in the neon green and the blue. No, by the guy in black and white stripes. That's who won the game on Monday. Not Seattle, not Detroit. The refs. And now the Lions have to deal with it that they're 0-4. But it brings up the question. I mean, Wilson led a couple good drives. They only scored 13 points, though. Is he elite? Is Russell Wilson in that elite category? And I know we've talked about elite quarterbacks on the show before. Who's elite? Who's in your top 5 and all that? But when you say the word elite, and I mean mostly it's been ripping guys that definitely are not elite. I mean, Wilson is good, great, but he's not elite yet. I mean, when talking about everything and what they do for the team and all that, he does a lot for his team. He can manage to pull out some victories, but he needs that defense there. I mean, you look at some of the people that have won Super Bowls and looked at what they did with their team. The Patriots, the years they've won Super Bowls have been really solid on defense. One of the better ones. But you look at some of the teams that at least compete, like with an Aaron Rodgers, a Tom Brady when they don't win the Super Bowl, or like a Broncos team with Peyton Manning, or even the Colts with Peyton Manning. They didn't have that defense, that elite defense that the Seahawks have. And the thing is, the Seahawks have so many weapons, it's a joke. Marshawn Lynch, one of the best running backs in the league. Wide receiving core isn't great, but they have a guy named Jimmy Graham who has been just under a rock or something because they're not using him. They obviously they didn't know they got him in a trade. I think they still think Jimmy Graham's on the Saints. Watching them play football, they have no idea. I mean, Russell Wilson can break down the coverage because he can extend the play so long. He can get out of predicaments where it looks like he's going to be sacked, and then the coverage breaks down and he can hit an open man because he's just been scrambling around so long. But elite wise, he's not there. He's a good quarterback who can manage the game well. He's just not at that elite category. Maybe in time. I mean, I understand he 2 Super Bowls back to back, lost one, won one, threw an interception at one to lose them the game. But is he elite? He hasn't made that jump yet. He's good. He's great. He has the potential to be there. But we've only seen him with the best defense in the league and pretty good weapons. It's a wait and see game for him, but the potential's there. But as of right now, you can't call him elite. Speaking of elite teams, the Falcons. I mean, the Falcons were good and then they were bad for the past 2 years, and now they look like they're back. I mean, you look at what they did to the Texans. Yeah, it's the Texans. Yeah, they're not great. But 48-21. I mean, they haven't scored below 21 points. 24 is their lowest total. They're destroying teams. They look like Super Bowl contenders. Undefeated. They play the Saints. No, they play the Redskins this week. I mean, the Falcons have a shot to go undefeated looking at their schedule. Saints, Titans, Bucks, 49ers, Colts, Vikings, Bucks, Panthers. Are they for real at the 4-0? They're good. Are they that good? Jags, Panthers, Saints. There's nobody in there that's like, oh, I don't know. There's no Patriots. There's no Broncos. There's no Packers. There's no Seahawks. They got a cakewalk. 14-2? That's 14-2 is what they can end up with if they stay healthy. And the thing is, even when they're not healthy, they bring out some stud in Freeman who goes off. I mean, the Falcons are the real deal. You look at who is there, and like Matt Ryan having a career year. Julio Jones looks like the best wide receiver in the league, where last year he was injured, and it's like, oh, I don't know about Julio. Matt Ryan and Julio Jones are on the same page and cannot be stopped by anybody. They are the best 1-2 combo there is between quarterbacks and wide receivers right now. I mean, there's no really disputing that. When Ben was healthy, you could say Ben and Antonio Brown. That was there. They were competing with Julio and Matt Ryan. But other than that, I mean, they're just tearing through teams. Their backup running backs just destroying teams. And that brings up, do the Falcons keep him starting? Or what do they do? Because, I mean, Coleman can come back this week. Coleman's coming back this week or next week. So now they're in a good predicament. Do they keep Freeman in? The guy who's just been putting up numbers, just producing 7 touchdowns on 66 carries for 252 yards. Do you keep him in, or do you go with Coleman? I mean, it's a tough pick. I think Freeman has earned it. I know you're not really supposed to lose your job because of injury, but Freeman has just gotten a chance to shine, and he has. And it's hard to start somebody over him. So is Atlanta really that good? I mean, yeah. There's not a team in the NFL that looks head and shoulders above Atlanta. I mean, you look at some undefeated teams and all that, but when you just look at Atlanta and the other teams, they're really, really, really good. New England looks good. The Bengals look good, but they usually collapse. Denver just narrowly escapes, but they're undefeated. The Packers look good, but could only put up, 13, 16 against the terrible 49ers? Panthers are undefeated. People don't like them. People don't like what they've been doing. They say they have an easy schedule, and they'll prove it in time if they're that good or if it's just a fluke. But the Falcons can play with anybody in the league, and they're going to show it. And then talking about teams who can't play with anybody in the league, you look at the NFC East. I mean, they're living up to their name, NFC least. The Cowboys got injury prone. They just got destroyed by the injury plague. They're 2-2. The Giants, they're now 1-2 straight 2-2. The Redskins somehow, they're terrible one game, good the next game, 2-2. And then the Eagles, Chip Kelly single-handedly clipped the Eagles' wings at 1-3. Chip Kelly is the reason that they are 1-3. Nick Foles wasn't doing bad for his team, so the straight up trade for Sam Bradford was puzzling. Instead of keeping Shady McCoy, who worked with your team, the bounce out, the jet sweeps, all of that, the pitches, the outside the tackles, he worked, and you get rid of him. Oh, DeMarco Murray's going to fill it. They're not even using DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray might as well not be on the team. It's a joke. They have the best running back in the league last year, and he's not even their top running back. He's third. He has 47 yards. 29 attempts, 47 yards. Darren Sproles has 21 attempts, 80 yards. Ryan Matthews has 33 attempts, 132 yards. What are they doing? They don't have the offensive line the Cowboys do, obviously. You could tell that from day one. But DeMarco Murray was the best running back in the league, and you're telling me he can't get it going? He had a 30-yard run. So that means 28 attempts, he's gotten 17 yards, and one attempt he got 30. He's averaging 15.7 yards a game. 15.7 yards a game for a guy who was the best running back last year. Him and Le'Veon Bell were the 1-2 running backs of the year. And he's got 15.7 yards. Now, Murray going to the Eagles thought it was a good move. I mean, a lot of people did. He looked like he was going to be a stud there. That offense, he's going to get a ton of touches. Ryan Matthews would cut some carries here and there, so he wouldn't have to deal with the workload he did in Dallas. But he's not getting touches. He's not getting the ball. 29 times. People run it 29 times with him in Madden in a quarter. And they've played 4 games, and they've ran it with him 29 times. I mean, there's no answer to the reason why they're doing this, why Chip Kelly has single-handedly destroyed the Eagles' chances at a Super Bowl this year. Sam Bradford's doing fine, but to trade Nick Foles, who already knew the offense, for Sam Bradford made 0 sense, still makes 0 sense. Ryan Matthews was a good pickup to cut some runs down on whoever their running back was going to be. Darren Sproles can always produce. And then you either had Shady or Murray. You knew Shady fit into your offense. Apparently Shady has a problem with injuries, though. We see that now. But an injured Shady is doing much better than a DeMarco Murray, who's healthy and only touches the ball 29 times. I don't know what's all going on in Chip Kelly's mind, what's going on in the mastermind of Chip Kelly, but 29 times for the best running back in the league, and that's an acceptable amount of rushing for him. He goes, you know what? That works. It obviously doesn't, Chip. 1-3. And the only reason you have a shot at the playoffs, the only reason you have a glimpse of hope to make the playoffs is the fact that the other teams in your division are just as bad. That's the only reason you have a shot at the playoffs. Going on to two things that need to be addressed. DraftKings. An employee won the pot this week for the big pot. He had the best team. An employee of DraftKings. So DraftKings made it apparent, and FanDuel said they they don't have any more inside than everybody else. Is that true? Who knows? I mean, he works there. He got paid $350,000. A lot of money. And people say it's kind of like making money on insider trading. He knew what was going on. But and I mean, he shouldn't be able to play. I don't know why it's a thing. You're not allowed to do anything like that when you work somewhere else. So I don't know why he was allowed to win when he works there. You can't win a contest if you work somewhere. Your family can't even win a contest if you work somewhere because it looks sketchy. That's the best way to put it. It just looks like you rigged it so they won or so you won. So they want to do that, that's fine or whatever. But something that Scott Van Pelt addressed, and I think he addressed it the best it could, is that people who play FanDuel and DraftKings, that's fine. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and play that. But just know it's sports gambling. It's not you've taken fantasy and sucked all the fun out of it and turned it into sports gambling. The only reason it's legal is due to the fact that you're betting on players, and that's how they can circumvent the system. If you're betting on teams, it's literally Vegas sports betting, which is illegal. But you can do DraftKings and FanDuel, and you see them every other commercial on any sporting network because they just have a hold on those sports networks. That all you can do it, sign up free right now and win $1 million. But you put in money. Sports gambling is when you put money into a sporting event and expect or hope for an outcome of the game to go in the favor of what you put your money on so you can increase the money you put in. That's sports gambling. Now, if you look at what you do in DraftKings and FanDuel, you put money in, whatever you want to put in, you put $20 in, $5 in, $1 in, you make a team, and you are betting that your team is going to do better than everybody else's team. And if your team wins, the team you put money on wins. The team you built, the team you spent money on to build wins. You win more money. You turn a profit. Sports gambling. So it's fine. Play it. Do whatever you want. But know the difference between fantasy football and DraftKings and FanDuel is completely different. Fantasy football, you have fun. You can win money, but it's a weekly thing. It's a season thing. You don't win on 1 week. FanDuel, week to week. Fantasy, week to week. Sports betting. And I think it sucked the fun out of fantasy football, in all honesty. But some people's preference is they want to make money off of it, and they can do it this way because this isn't illegal, but sports gambling is illegal because you're betting on players to do well, not a team to do well. Yet players can play this. That's something that hasn't been addressed here. Players can play FanDuel. Players will only affect themselves in it if they do that. But they're allowed to play FanDuel. They're allowed to bet on FanDuel. Yet baseball got rid of the greatest hitter of all time because he bet on games. And the thing is, people go, well, he bet on games. He threw games. You don't get that many hits. You don't break the record in hits. You don't set records in hits by throwing games. by betting on the other team and not hitting the ball. He did his part. There is no evidence that he bet against his team due to the fact that he has the most hits in the MLB ever. 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 The most hits. Yet he's gone, and players who can play DraftKings and affect that are still there, are still okay, are still good. And the other thing, right? The organization known as the Redskins, and the whole Donald Trump came out and said, keep the name. Keep the name. It's them. It's good. It's positive. Just change the name. There's not many ties to the Redskins to keep it. Yes, you have a fan base, but changing the name is just going to make them go out and buy a different jersey. If they're a Redskins fan right now, they're going to be it no matter what because they are terrible. I mean, there's been nothing to cheer about for the Washington football team since, 21 years ago. 21. Most of the people that follow the Redskins, not most, some of the people that follow the Redskins, a lot, weren't even born 21 years ago. Just change the name. It's that simple. Change it to something else. Start fresh because you need to start fresh. Knowing everything about the Redskins organization, it's terrible. It is god awful. Start fresh, blank slate, change your name. It's that simple. Be on the right side of it. Just change the name. Instead of offending people, because some people are offended, some people aren't. Some Native Americans don't care. They're actually a fan of them. But some people are offended. If enough people are offended that it's being brought up to potential presidents or being brought up to anybody and everybody that talks about them, just change the name. Change it to something else. It's not that difficult. Change it to the Indians. Keep the same logo. Keep the same colors. Change it to something, just something else. It won't be that difficult. I promise. It's not that difficult to change your team name. You go, we're changing the team name. People go, oh, I'm going to have to buy new stuff. Oh, no, I don't want to buy new stuff. Just change it. They'll buy new stuff if they're a fan. You can restart because the Redskins need to hit the refresh button and restart on their entire franchise. And that's the way to do it. Moving on to college football. ODU taking a loss. They're falling apart a little bit, but they're young. I mean, that's something that fans don't want to think about. Old Dominion's really young. So they're going to learn. In time, they'll learn. They're home against Charlotte for their next game, homecoming. Lowry's doing well still. Bentley's getting there. They're young. They gotta learn in time. But losing to Marshall, 27-7's not too bad. But it would have been nice to see him score some more. 160 yards and a touchdown for Lowry though. Looking at the standings, the rankings, if you will. AP 25 first. Ohio State's still there. People were, Ohio State looks shaky. Right now, they're still there. I mean, playing some tougher teams, they may run into a problem. I think they got to play Michigan State. They got to play Michigan. But they're still there. People doubt they're going to go undefeated. And I mean, it's going to be tough. But it's possible. They're number one right now. I don't see why right now, why would you doubt them? Cordell Jones will put it together. Ezekiel Elliott's putting it together. They're looking really good. Team that jumped up TCU, both coaches poll and AP top 25, number 2. I mean, TCU just put a beat down on Texas. Texas looks bad, but TCU looks really, really, really good. But I think looking at this, the thing that kind of not surprises, the thing that people didn't want to happen yet is happening and may continue to happen is in the AP top 25. You look at the top 5 and there's no SEC teams. You have to go to number 7 at LSU, and then it's 7, 8, 9 are SEC, and then 11 Florida is SEC. But the top 6 aren't SEC schools, which means right now SEC would miss the playoffs. People go, you can't have a playoffs without the SEC. That's just not right. We need the playoffs. We need SEC in there. They're the best in the league. They're the cream of the crop. They're just the best. If they're the best, they'd be top 5. They'd be top 4 because that's what you have to be to get into it. Now Michigan State or Ohio State is going to fall out because they have to play each other. TCU looks good, but TCU and Baylor, I believe, also have to play each other. So that's they end the season on each other. So there's a chance, but Clemson looks pretty good. Utah, pretty good. So that leaves the Big 10 and a Big 12. That there's your 4. So do you take a 1-loss team over them? Say Alabama if they went out. LSU hasn't lost right now. Texas A&M hasn't lost right now. Florida hasn't lost right now. Those are your choices. LSU's 5 in the coaches poll, but that's 1 SEC in the top 5. SEC is supposed to be the best. They're the best according to everybody else. Oh, the SEC can't be stopped. They're the best. They play the toughest competition. A 2-loss SEC team could beat any other team. Well, maybe we'll find out in the Tostito Bowl. Because they're not going to make the championship bowl. If the way they're at right now, you take the top 4. LSU looks good. Clemson looks good. Utah, for some odd reason, looks really good. Michigan State looks good. Baylor, TCU, Ohio State all look good. Ohio State looks iffy at times, but still undefeated, still number 1. Where is the SEC? Where are you? We're looking for you. We can't find you, though. Oh, you're down all the way to number 7, yet you're going to cry if you don't make it in to the you're going to say, "Oh, we deserve to be in." No, the best teams deserve to be in. And you say, "Oh, we play tougher competition." Well, then you'll be up there when the time comes. And most likely one SEC team will be there. But I think LSU is their best shot. If Bama wins out, they still have a loss. If you have an Ohio State, TCU, Utah, Clemson still undefeated, I don't know. I mean, they'd probably put them over Utah because they're not a power conference. But Utah's playing some tough competition. You laugh, but they crushed Oregon. They play Cal. They got to play USC. They got to play UCLA. It's not like they're playing powder puff teams. They're out there playing real teams. Clemson, they beat Notre Dame. They still got to play Florida State. Other than that, their schedule's weak, but they beat one of the top teams. TCU will have to beat Baylor. Baylor will have to beat TCU. Ohio State's going to have to beat Michigan State, or Michigan State beat them. I mean, LSU is probably their only shot. I don't think Texas A&M can go much further. I don't think I'm not ready to jump on that. People thought Ole Miss was where they were at, and they lost. Georgia was there, and then Alabama just dismantled them. I mean, there's better teams that aren't SEC teams above them right now. I mean, the season will play out and probably go in an SEC team's favor. But as of right now, they miss, and it's not close. I mean, when you look at it, you got to take the teams above them. I know, like, oh well, you take there's 6 undefeated teams. You probably take. I mean, right now you take Utah over Michigan State, and you look at what the other guys have done. Clemson's put together a good little title run here. I mean, you put Clemson over Baylor. Baylor's played nobody. So you take out Michigan State and Baylor, who probably could beat LSU. LSU has an amazing running attack. Just amazing. I mean, he's just phenomenal. But they got to keep winning. And LSU has a pretty easy schedule. Not easy. They have an okay schedule. South Carolina, at South Carolina this Sunday, that might get postponed. They're kind of flooding right now. But they can beat South Carolina. Florida's undefeated. That's going to be a tough one. Then Western Kentucky should be a steamroll. Arkansas shouldn't even be close. You got Alabama in there. Alabama will be a tough one. That'll really determine who's got the shot. Because if Alabama wins that one but loses another one, SEC misses it. If Alabama beats LSU but loses another game to get to 2 losses, it's over. The SEC is just weaker this year. I'm not going to say weak because they have guys in the top 10, but the problem is they're not in that top 4. They're not in that needed category. Although I think a lot of people would debate, they'd say, oh, they deserve to be in it. But do they? Shouldn't you be at the top of your game, at the top of everybody in college football's game? If you deserve to be there, you're going to be there. If you're not there, you didn't deserve to be there. But it'll be an interesting college season. Going to baseball. It's going on. College or not college baseball. That's not started yet. Playoff baseball. Before you get into playoff baseball, CC Sabathia, I'm sure you guys all heard, chucked himself into rehab, alcohol rehab. Not going to go into too much of that. I mean, good for him. I'm glad he went and went to help himself, especially with this playoff run. It would have been easy to push it away. But I'm glad players are backing him, and I'm glad he's doing this for himself. But I mean, good for him. Hopefully, he can come out better with this. Come out better. So, playoff baseball is going on. One team missing from the whole thing. The Nats. I mean, the preseason favorite, the one to win it all, the Vegas 2-1 odds, 5-1, I think it was actually, but the favorites, the clear on favorites, everybody at every sports network, who's going to win it this year? Nationals. They have everything. Scherzer, he did phenomenal this year. Bryce Harper, probably the MVP this year, but they missed the playoffs. So Matt Williams, the guy who won Manager of the Year last year, out the door. And he deserved it. He was a terrible manager. Just awful. His MVP got choked out. Put in a choke from the backup closer in Papelbon. And he goes, I didn't know about it. I didn't see it. Are you kidding me? You didn't know about it? You didn't see it? You got to have control of your team, man. And he didn't. And that's why that happened. I mean, honestly, the Nationals right there should have taken Papelbon's jersey, paid him the rest of his contract, and said, never show your face here ever again. But they didn't. They suspended him the rest of the season. Hopefully for the Nats fans, they get rid of him because he just destroyed the confidence of the other closer and the entire team. So you get rid of him. And then you have an incompetent manager trying to manage a team that should have exceeded 80 games by a ton. They should have been a 100 win team. The Cardinals were the only team to win 100 games. The Nationals should have been right there with them. They let the Mets win the division. The Mets. They finished 8 games away from the Mets, too. They didn't just barely let the Mets win. They finished 8 games behind the Mets and 14 games behind in the wild card due to the fact that the NL Central is just dirty this year, just amazing with the Cardinals, the Pirates, and the Cubs. So finishing 14 back to that, I mean, not great, but they're 14 back to good teams. But the Nationals should have been the best team in baseball, if not the second best to the Cardinals. Yet, here we are in October with no Nationals. This was their year, and they floundered. Bryce Harper had a career year. He had an MVP year. Scherzer threw 2 no-hitters in a season. He came an elbow away from one of those being a perfect game. And here we are talking about a team who went 500. Matt Williams should have been fired earlier than he did of yesterday. But nonetheless, he was fired. The Nationals had to do that to keep Bryce Harper because he, as of right now, is a Yankee. He's going to the Yankees. You look at the Nationals who can't even make the postseason, can't even win enough games to make the postseason. And then you look at the Yankees who weren't even projected to win over 500 games, make the postseason, and are playing tonight versus the Astros at home, hosting a wild card game. Yes, a wild card, but they're still hosting it. Toronto just got really hot at the end of the season. I mean, right now, if Harper was becoming a free agent, he would laugh at anything the Nationals gave to him. He would just laugh at it, in their face laugh, because the Yankees could give him more money and the ability to actually win baseball games and play in October. If you can't keep your star player happy and he gets choked out in the dugout, there's something wrong. So Matt Williams getting fired, even though he won Manager of the Year last year, doesn't matter. He was terrible this year and deserved it. And that's the only thing the Nationals could do to try to hold on to what they have left of Bryce Harper. They need to make the playoffs and make a deep run next year, or Harper's going to be gone. He's in the prime of his career. He wants to compete for a World Series. Who doesn't? The Nationals aren't giving him that right now. Him and Scherzer are trying to put the teams on their back, and they can't. Speaking about the Yankees and playoff baseball, the Astros are at the Yankees. The Astros are a team who hit a lot of home runs but strike out a lot. So I think the even though their pitcher is just destroyed the Yankees, he's not a fastball pitcher, 87 mile an hour. He's got the placement of it though. But I think the Yankees come out on top and win at home and make it to the playoffs, the actual playoffs. But I don't think they can go much further. And then tomorrow, the Cubs are at the Bucks, the Pirates. You would have asked me this a month ago, I would have said the Pirates win because they had Yang. Should have probably been in consideration for Rookie of the Year. Wasn't. Okay. Gets injured by the Cubs. And now he's out. The Cubs have Arrieta on the mound. Just been phenomenal, to say the least. As much as Pittsburgh and everybody wants it, and it's at home, Arrieta is just unstoppable. He's the best pitcher in baseball right now. So it's going to be hard for the Pirates to overcome that. And I think the Cubs make it to the real playoffs. And I think they have the ability to go pretty far. I think if the Cubs beat the Pirates, everybody roots for the Cubs. I mean, I'm a Pirates fan, but if the Cubs beat the Pirates, I'm a Cubs fan for the ride. Everybody wants to see them break the curse, and this is their year. But I'm hoping the Pirates do it. But Arrieta's just Strong, man. Too strong. But we'll see. But until next time, Thursday, the board's fixed. Try to come in. The board wasn't working last time. We'll be here Thursday, 2 hours. Talk about playoff baseball a little more. Talk about football. Talk about college football. Talk about basketball. Stephen A. trying to start a feud with Kevin Durant. What is that? All that and more in Cup Check. The best sports radio show in the world on WODU. The best in college radio.